If you're an endurance athlete and you constantly feel tired, not just physically but mentally flat, if training feels heavy instead of energizing, or if you quietly lost your motivation but still force yourself to train, this video is probably for you. Because most endurance athletes aren't undertrained, they're overloaded, and not just in their legs. They're training themselves into burnout without even realizing it. And the problem isn't that athletes are lazy, weak, or undisciplined. It's actually the opposite. Endurance sport attracts people who are disciplined, resilient, high achievers, very good at pushing through discomfort. Those traits help you succeed until they quietly become the thing that breaks you. Here's what burnout actually is. When most people hear burnout, they think not wanting to train, skipping sessions, losing motivation. But burnout in endurance athletes usually shows up as constantly training but never feeling fresh, needing more caffeine to get through sessions, struggling to sleep despite being exhausted, plateauing or regressing despite doing everything right, feeling anxious when training load drops. Now, that's not a motivation issue, that's a nervous system overload. Physical versus nervous system fatigue. Here's a distinction most athletes never learn. Physical fatigue is local. Muscles, glycogen, soreness. Nervous system fatigue is global. Mood, motivation, sleep, hormones, focus. You can have legs that can train, but a system that shouldn't. And endurance athletes are very good at ignoring that second signal because heart rate, pace, and power, they don't measure emotional load, life stress, pressure, identity attachment, but your nervous system, well, that feels it all. Endurance sport doesn't exist in a vacuum. It overlaps perfectly with hustle culture. More is better. Hard work always pays off. If you're tired, you're doing it right. So athletes start stacking stress, high training volume, work pressure, financial stress, poor sleep, underfueling, comparison via social media. And then they wonder why they feel flat, anxious, or just stuck. Your body doesn't separate stress into neat categories. Stress is stress. The identity trap. This is the part almost no one talks about. For many endurance athletes, training isn't just something they do, it's who they are. So rest starts to feel like laziness, weakness, falling behind, losing identity. When performance becomes self-worth, pushing harder feels safer than pulling back, even when the body is clearly asking for space. Why more discipline makes it worse. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Burnout athletes don't need more discipline. They already have plenty. What they actually lack is permission to back off, trust in long-term progress, emotional regulation around training. Trying to out-discipline burnout is like trying to put out a fire with petrol. It works briefly, then it explodes. Smart endurance training isn't soft, it's strategic. It understands that adaptation happens during recovery. Consistency beats intensity. Restraint is harder than effort. Training should support life, not replace it. The best athletes don't train the hardest. They train the most sustainably. And sustainability is psychological as much as physical. Here's some signs that you might be heading towards burnout. If you're wondering whether this is you, here are a few red flags. You dread sessions you used to enjoy. Easy days don't feel easy. You feel irritable or flat for no reason. You need external pressure to train. You feel anxious when you miss a workout. Progress is stalled despite all your high effort. One or two of these happen to everyone. Most of them, consistently, means something needs to be changed. Here's the reframing and hope. Burnout doesn't mean you're broken. It usually means you cared deeply, you tried hard for a long time, and you never learned when enough was enough. That's not failure, that's just information. And when you learn to listen to it, training becomes enjoyable again. Not because you do less forever, but because you do what actually moves you forward. If this resonated, you're not alone. You're not weak. You're just overdue for a smarter, more human approach to endurance training. If you want more content like this, practical, honest, grounded, subscribe and let me know in the comments what part hit home for you. And remember, training is meant to build you, not burn you down.